Non-binaries, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? Non-binaries, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? Cops was filmed on location. Does anyone remember the Cops theme song? No? Too young, maybe? Oh, whatever. I'll admit it was a stupid joke. Hopefully some of you all got it. But what I'm here to talk about today is Ezra Miller, once again, because the Ezra Miller story has now officially left the train tracks. And by that, I mean this whole situation surrounding Ezra Miller is now off the rails. It has completely gone off the rails because now Ezra Miller and this young little girl who he's accused of grooming, they are on the run. The parents can't find them. The courts can't find them. Law enforcement cannot find them. They are officially on the run. But before anyone gets it mixed up, Ezra Miller is not wanted for an arrest. Like, they're not trying to arrest Ezra Miller, at least at the moment. But they are trying to serve him with protective orders and restraining orders to bar him from being around this little girl that he is accused of grooming. But this guy's flying all around the world and no one can locate him or the little girl. Now, of course, she did just release an Instagram video not too long ago, and I reacted to that in my last video on the topic. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. But what's going on here, it's, like I said, it's completely gone further than anyone could ever imagine. This Ezra Miller guy, he should have been handled a while back. There is no reason why he is still walking around a free man after assaulting so many women in various countries around the world. Yet he has been allowed to walk free and do whatever he wants simply because of how he identifies. He's just been getting off with every single thing that he does. And now, because people didn't nip it in the bud to begin with, it's gone to a whole new level. And now we have a little girl missing somewhere across the world, and law enforcement and her family can't find her. Now, I mean, before I even go further with my thoughts, let's go ahead and dive into some of the details, because I got a lot of thoughts, but I want to give you all a better understanding of just what exactly is going on here. The parents of an 18-year-old from North Dakota, have obtained a protective order against the Flash star Ezra Miller, adding another scandal for the embattled actor to combat with. Because if you don't know, Ezra Miller has been doing like so much crazy stuff lately. It's insane. Like, it would take me all day to just lay out everything that's been going on with him, but just know that he's just been going around randomly attacking people, and I feel like this dude's just completely lost his mind, but no one's willing to put him in check. But the teen's parents and law enforcement are having a very difficult time locating Miller to serve the actor with the order, which accuses Miller of physically and emotionally abusing, I can't say this word, abusing, and grooming the teen. Attorney and activist Chase Iron Eyes and his wife, Sarah Jumping Eagle, petitioned the Standing Rock Sioux Tribal Court on a reservation in North Dakota Tuesday to issue an order of protection for their child, Takata Iron Eyes. They accused the 29-year-old Justice League star of psychologically manipulating, physically intimidating, and endangering the safety and welfare of Takata Iron Eyes. A tribal court judge approved the interim order Tuesday, but the court cannot locate or serve Miller. In a Thursday interview, Chase Iron Eyes said he and the court have no idea of knowing where Takada and Ezra are to gain help from other jurisdictions to serve or enforce the order, which bars Miller from contacting or harassing Takada and her family for 30 days. Miller is also ordered to stay 100 yards away from the family's residence during the time. The court set a hearing for July 12th to allow Takada and Miller to appear and weigh in. According to the DV protection order, the court will grant the relief requested in the petition for a restraining order if Miller, who is non-binary and uses they/them pronouns, doesn't appear at the hearing. It cites that the Federal Violence Act, or the Federal Violence Against Women Act, which gives the order broad jurisdiction nationwide. Now notice, even in this official statement, they felt the need to talk about this dude's sexuality. Like, imagine if it's like, Cinema Shogun, a guy who really likes nice butts and big tits and women, and this is what he's accused of. You know what I mean? What? So literally here, this is what it says. According to the DV protection order, the court will grant the relief requested in the petition for a restraining order if Miller, who is non-binary and uses they/them pronouns, doesn't appear at the hearing. There was literally no need for that piece of information. Now, if Ezra wants to identify as non-binary, they/them, whatever, I don't care. Cool, do what you do. But why should that be brought up in the middle of these official documents that are talking about holding you accountable for running off with some little girl? It's like, oh, hey, just so you know, guess what? He's they/them, non-binary, so we can't hold him to the same standards that we hold everyone else. You got to remember, you got to cut the guy some slack here. He could groom kids. He could run off with little kids. And if you say something about it, remember, you better not call him a he or a man. You better refer to him as a they. He's non-binary, so you better get with the program and allow him to do whatever he wants to do. That's basically what this reads like to me. There's no reason to say that at all. Hey, here's Cindy Lou Who. She's accused of killing her husband. It just so happens she likes to suck cock. Her court date is next week. Like, what? Huh? There is no point in adding that in there other than, hey, everyone, just so you know, be careful here. We got to be careful with this one. We can't say too much. We can't do too much here, or else we'll be accused of being bad people. That's exactly what this is. They move around so much that we're stuck in this legal limbo situation and we can't serve them in any place they're in long enough, says Takada's father. They've been flighty. They've been avoiding service. And now there's public pressure mounting on them to make a decision, which makes us very concerned about Ezra's volatile nature. We're working very hard to get this order enforced wherever they are. So Ezra Miller has got so much money and he's such a creep that while he knows this whole scandal is going down, trust me, he knows and this girl knows because she's issued replies on social media already. They know that this order is out there. They are purposely flying to other countries where there's like no cell phone reception and they're falling off the freaking map and doing God knows what. That's what's happening here. And these people are like chasing this man around the world trying to serve him with these papers. But he has no intentions of letting go of this little girl. No intentions of letting go of her whatsoever. And he's basically just been allowed to do this. And I understand what he's saying here. Because if you follow this Ezra Miller situation, this guy is completely nuts. He is very, very violent. And it just so happens the people that he is violent towards are almost 100% women. Almost 100% of the times, this guy is threatening to kill women. He's beating women. He's choke slamming women. He's snatching microphones out their hand and hitting them in the head because he doesn't like their karaoke voice. Like totally just off the wall, off the rails type of stuff. And now he's under this pressure with this protective order, with this restraining order. How do you think he's acting? I would guarantee you he's lashing out. He's probably acting more irrationally than ever. And at this point, I fear for this little girl's life because this guy doesn't care about his actions. He doesn't feel like he will ever be held accountable. He feels like he's above the law and he's hiding behind the gender identity shield. It's like a Captain America shield. You see this shield right here on Captain America? It's nothing compared to the gender identity shield that people use within America. And that's what he's using. And everything's bouncing off. Hey, I'll beat this woman, I'll beat that woman. No one can say anything because guess what? If you do, you're an ist, you're a phobe, you're a bad person, you are judgmental, you're not accepting of my lifestyle, blah, 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 blah. Listen, dude, I don't give a who you... Stop beating up women, stop taking control of little kids' lives, and people won't have any problem with how you look and who you screw. But no, of course, in our society, you can't say things like that anymore. You have to conform to all of this madness. Well, I'm not going to. Sorry, get over it. Representatives for Miller refused to respond for comment. Now, I want you all to understand, Ezra Miller is still employed by WB Pictures. He plays The Flash. He has a big Flash movie on the horizon that's supposed to be coming out not too long from now. Meanwhile, they fired Johnny Depp over baseless accusations. Now, here's where it really gets juicy because a lot of people are like, Takada's 18. Takada does what she wants. Takada, dude, she's 18, dude. Leave it alone. Although Takada is 18, the parents are still considered the teen's legal guardians under tribal court rules. So you have to understand that their way of life is a little bit different than other people's way of life. Just like Ezra Miller likes to claim that he's non-binary and his way of life is different than others, so is Takada's. She's a Native American. They live by different rules and people need to accept that. Everyone wants people to accept these pronouns, but no one wants to accept Takada's tribe's way of life all of a sudden. And that's when the true colors start showing. Because the same woke, idiot, like SJW, crazy people who are pushing all of this like gender ideology on little kids, they're the same people that try to act all holier than thou, and they claim that they care about diversity. They claim that they're champions for like people of color, POCs and BIPOCs, and they hate America. They say America's stolen land and America's bad, and we need to, give the land back to Native Americans. And they're just always out here with all of this activist type stuff going on, acting like they actually care about people, acting like they really want acceptance for everyone, when in reality, these are the same people who will be quick not to accept that this tribe is not going along with their 18-year-old daughter becoming a trans under Ezra Miller's tutelage. The fact is, and I'm sorry to hurt some feelings here, I know a lot of you out there who are pushing this stuff like you think you're doing the right thing. I would disagree. But the reality is, a lot of these Native Americans, a lot of these indigenous people, a lot of these groups of people, whatever you want to label them, for some reason, these activist types, they feel the need to create new names for different groups of people who never wanted to be identified as that in the first place, like Latinx and stuff like that. I mean, Lord, These people do not get down with this program. They are not cool with your way of life. They do not accept all of this gender ideology stuff. So while you're championing them and acting like everyone's bad people for no apparent reason, you have to realize that these people and their way of life, it's against that way of life for the most part. For the most part. I think it would be hard for you to find someone from a real Native American tribe that is all the way down with a lot of this stuff that's going on in our new world. I would highly doubt it. And you need to be accepting of their way of life, because if you're out here claiming that you want diversity, what is wrong with diversity of thought? What is wrong with diversity of culture? What is wrong with diversity of ways of life? In reality, these people don't care about diversity. These people don't care about being accepting. They care about you falling into their way of thinking. Simple and plain. So while they're sitting here and they virtue signal and they act like America is so bad and it's stolen land and we need to stand up for our Native Americans, when they realize, oh, well, Native Americans aren't really down with a lot of the ideologies that you're pushing and the agendas you're pushing, now all of a sudden, oh, they're bigots, blah, 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 they're bad. No, you're just not accepting their lifestyle. It turns out that you're the bigot. You are not accepting of their ways of life. So if you're sitting here and you have a problem with this child's parents still having a say-so over her life, even though she's 18, maybe you need to pause for a moment, check your own bigotry, and realize that you, in fact, are everything that you claim that other people are. Okay? You want acceptance? You want diversity? Well, understand there's diversity of opinion. There's diversity in ways of thinking. It has very little to do with skin color. Diversity has very little to do with skin color. We're all different shades. Who gives a damn? What really matters is what we think, how we feel, who we are as people, and we're all going to be a little bit different. And if you're accepting, you're going to accept that. You're going to accept that, hey, these indigenous people, these Native Americans, this tribe, those people, they think differently than me, and that's okay. But it's not okay to these people, the same people who preach about diversity, the same people that preach about acceptance, because it is not about acceptance, it's about conforming to their lifestyle. They want everyone else to conform to their lifestyle. Sorry for the rant, but that's the reality of what is going on here. Now, the family said it has been working for months and in multiple states to get Takata to leave Miller so that Takata can be their beautiful, independent self again. Because they don't believe that Takata is independent right now. They don't believe that her choices are independent. They believe that her choices are being dictated by Ezra Miller. The family has previously tried to obtain a temporary guardianship for Takata, as well as an order for a mental health evaluation in Vermont, where Miller has a home, according to documents reviewed by the Times. The family's petition said that they tried to serve Takata in Vermont 3 times in May, and also tried to serve Takata in California in late May. So this has been going on for a while. This didn't just pop up last week. This didn't just pop up yesterday. This family's been desperately, attempting to get their daughter back. Now, I know that there's a lot of questions about the family. Why would a family allow their daughter to have this much access to a grown man? At the time that Ezra and Takata met, Ezra was 23, I believe, and she was 12. So yeah, I understand questioning the family's intentions here in the get-go, or from the get-go. But what we can't do here, folks, is we can't start having this debate right now while Ezra Miller is out running around the world, high off his mind, beating the crap out of women, while he's got this 18-year-old in tow who he's not supposed to be around. Yeah, those are some questionable choices by the parents. Yes. But that doesn't mean that we just leave Takata, hung up out to dry like an old piece of laundry, like a piece of meat, just throw her to the wolves. Oh, well, hey, your parents, they shouldn't have did that when you were 12. Ew. No, that's not how we have to handle this. So yeah, I have some problems with how all of this transpired. Yeah, I have some questions for the parents. But at this moment, I don't think we need to start pointing fingers. The problem that we know for a fact is the problem here is Ezra. And we know for a fact that Ezra, at the very least, has some sort of control over this girl because she's not talking to her parents and they don't even know where she is. And it's different when you're like, oh man, I haven't talked to my son. He was mad at me. He ran away. And your son's probably down the street at his friend's house. This girl could be anywhere on planet Earth. Anywhere on planet Earth with this guy. So yeah, definitely I understand questioning how all of this transpired. But I think that's something that we need to do later on. First, we need to locate this girl. We need to figure out where this girl is. And then we can start asking questions of the parents. I already reached out to the parents and asked them for comments, tried to talk to them. I haven't heard back from them. I don't know if they know who they could trust in this situation. Because, surprisingly enough, the internet is divided on this situation. Yeah, I know, common sense should tell you everyone should be worried about this girl. But no, half of the internet is like, oh, screw you parents, you're just bigots. You're just hateful. You just can't stand that Ezra's non-binary. Blah, 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 blah. So that's how all this is going down. Like I said, I feel like we need to locate this girl and then have a conversation. But at the same time, there's the circumstances surrounding this situation, it's a little bit different than some of these other similar situations. I fully feel like part of the reason why this family let their guard down in this situation is because Ezra pulled the wool over their eyes and was using his gender identity as a shield. Meaning that they felt as if Ezra had no, creepy motives with their daughter because they didn't think that Ezra liked women. And that Ezra was really something that he's not. He shielded himself. These people didn't know how crazy he was. These people are activists. And Ezra, like all people in Hollywood, is a pretend activist. And they mutually work together to spread awareness about random things like pipelines and what have you. And yeah, maybe in the moment they were taking advantage of, okay, we have a star here. Let's use this to gain more awareness. And oh, he likes our daughter. He's friends with our daughter. Okay, cool. Their daughter is actually an up-and-coming activist as well. Their daughter's followed by people like AOC. Yeah, that's right. AOC knows this little girl. Go figure, right? So anyway, I feel like there's interesting circumstances surrounding this situation where a lot of why she was allowed to be around him is because they thought that they were like fighting this activist fight against climate change or God knows what they're, being activist about. I really don't care. But in the process, that's when all of this connection was forming between Ezra and the daughter. Now, Iron Eyes says that he and his wife first met Miller when the actor got involved with projects with his tribe, working on the land back reclamation movement. Takata and Miller allegedly met at the Standing Rock Reservation in North Dakota in 2016 when Dakota was 12 and Miller was 23. Miller allegedly started exhibiting a pattern of corrupting a minor over time. According to the petition, Miller established contact with Takata under the pretense of assisting Standing Rock tribe during the No Dakota Access Pipeline movement. So, like I was just explaining to you all, he established contact with this little girl while he was pretending that he was assisting this tribe with this movement about stopping pipelines from coming on their territory. And he took an immediate and what they thought was an innocent liking to Takata. However, as the relationship developed, Takata's parents grew concerned for Takata's safety and mental well-being after and accused Miller of displaying cult-like and psychologically manipulative, controlling behavior. And here's what I have to say. Parents, what do you think is going to happen? Do you not realize, as activists, there's activists out there that actually care about these movements, but in reality, a lot of these people that cling to these movements, they're just people who want to be in a cult. They want to have something to get behind. It forms a cult-like mentality in your mind often when you're part of these movements because you're surrounded by a lot of psychotic people who have a lot of crazy ways of thinking. So when you raise your daughter to be an activist and you're raising them around all of these activists, you're raising them in a literal cult in a way. You're raising them in a literal cult. When you have a 10-year-old out here with a picket sign protesting about pipelines, you're basically displaying cult-like behavior as well. So when I look at the situation, and I always hyper-focus on the fact that her parents are activists, I just know that this activist-like mentality, and I don't mean that all activists are bad and activists from back in the day are bad, but this modern day activist mentality, it's a victim mentality. It's oppression Olympics. Who's oppressed the most? This is oppressing me. That's oppressing me. I'm oppressed. That's bad. That's bad. And you breed this certain mentality that just makes you fall into this wicked place emotionally and mentally. And when you raise a child like that, it's only so long before they become activists against your parenting because they feel like I'm oppressed because of my parents. Now I need to stand up, revolt. Let's get the picket signs. Let's get the torches. We're rioting against our parents now. You literally raised your child with this mentality, and it made her an easier victim for people like Ezra. And a lot of people out here who are just zombies, going along with whatever current trend and movement is popular at the time, you are doing nothing but being taken advantage of. You are all like literal zombies, NPCs, walking around, spreading the same messages out your mouth when in reality you have no idea what you're fighting for. In the petition, they also accused the Fantastic Beast star of giving Takata alcohol and drugs, such as marijuana and LSD, and flying Takata to London, Vermont, New York, California, Hawaii, and all over the place. Takata's parents said they allowed the team to fly to London with Miller, along with other tribal members, for the Fantastic Beast premiere in 2017. While there, Miller allegedly tried to sleep in the same bed as the then 14-year-old Takata. And there it goes, folks. Yep, there it goes right there. Whew. So in 2017, Takata was 14 years old. I would assume that Miller was probably around 25 years old. Miller tries to sleep in the same bed as Takata. Interesting. Very interesting. Like I've been saying, this guy likes to use these pronouns and his gender identity as a shield. I feel like the reason he felt comfortable trying to do this, because he did this in front of other people. People who stopped him once he did it. The reason he felt comfortable with doing this is because he's like, oh, don't worry, guys, I'm non-binary. It's fine, I'm non-binary. And then he gets in a bed with a 14-year-old girl. I don't know what Ezra Miller really is. I can guarantee you the dude probably has sex with anything walking. I would definitely argue that Ezra Miller's had sex with women. I don't even know if the dude's necessarily gay. I don't even know if half of these people in Hollywood that come out the closet, I don't know if they're really that way. I feel like a lot of it is an act because it gains you a following in today's world. It makes people look at you like they have to support you in a certain sense. And you get special privileges. Like, hey, you're a sick weirdo creep in Hollywood that wants to have sex with kids? Well, that's a bad thing. But hey, wait. You identify as what now? Okay, take all these kids to a drag show. What? Yes, ladies and gentlemen. People are taking literal children to drag shows in today's world, but that's a story for another day. So, Miller allegedly tried to sleep in the same bed as the then 14-year-old Takada and was prevented from doing so by a chaperone who accompanied them on the trip, according to the petition. Why he was ever allowed around her after that, I'm not sure. But once again, like I said, I feel like some of these people have their guard down here, but a lot of it is probably people turning, a blind eye for their own personal gain. I don't put that past anyone. Ezra uses violence, intimidation, threat of violence, fear, paranoia, delusions, and drugs to hold sway over a young adolescent Takada, said the filing. Takada's parents say that their child previously identified as non-binary queer gay, and that Ezra himself has decided for Takada that she is now non-binary transgender. So for those of you all who have no idea what just happened here, Takada's parents, despite being, traditional Native Americans from an actual tribe, still following, certain ways of life, still following up with the tribal court, they accepted that their child was non-binary, queer, gay, or whatever. That she didn't conform to the usual gender norms. And that she herself liked women. And from what they say, they were cool with that. Now, I don't know exactly the ins and outs of what happens here, between this girl and her family or how the family really feels. But from what they say, they're cool with that. And from the concern that they're showing for their daughter, I would assume that they care about their daughter. Yes, sometimes when children make different decisions that you don't agree with, it can be hard on parents. I'm not sitting here trying to run the illusion that these parents are probably like, oh my God, really? We love that. Great. I don't think that's the case. However, they're not coming across as if, oh, what? You're this? Oh, hell no. Their concern here is that their daughter identified this way. They accepted that, and that was cool. But Ezra has now come in this situation. He's like, no, you're not just non-binary and gay. You're a boy. You're a boy. No, you don't like girls. No, that's not the reason. No, you're not a lesbian. You're a boy. You're a man. That's what Ezra, or at least that's what they claim, Ezra has decided for Takada. And sounds about right to me. It sounds about right to me. Because what's happening here, not all the time, not everyone, but in a lot of occasions, you have these kids who they go through cycles in life. Some kids are confused about their gender and their sexuality. People are just trying to figure themselves out. And then you have people like Ezra Miller and a lot of the teachers in America, they come around like, hey, what? Yeah, you're not gay. You're really just a different gender. I'm like, huh, what? What? And they mold these minds, these young minds, into making them think that, oh, no, you have to actually be the other gender. And all in all, folks, while I'm an accepting person, I have no problem with people's ways of life. If you're trans, cool, I don't care. I've never had a trans person in real life, do anything wrong to me or treat me wrong, and never will I treat them wrong. But when it comes to like pushing stuff onto young minds, onto young people, that's where I take an issue. And I've noticed, and if you pay attention to this stuff, you could really notice this. A lot of these people are like, they're battling the gender stereotypes, the gender norms. So like, hey, girls can be strong too. Girls can do anything guys do. Hey, just because you're a guy and you like to cook, there's nothing wrong with that. If you're a guy and you want to show your feelings, that's cool. If you're a girl and you want to work on cars, cool. So the movement was all about, supposedly, it was all about getting rid of these gender stereotypes, realizing that a lot of these stereotypes about our genders are placed here by society, and we don't have to abide by that. You can be a sensitive man, you can be a hardcore woman. That's what the message supposedly is. But then, when you're a man or you're a woman and you don't follow up with the gender stereotypes, they're right here saying, no, you need to get a sex change. You're really a woman. So which one is it? Which one is it? And I want you all to listen to this again, one more time for the people in the back. The narrative here is that they want to get rid of all of these stereotypes, all of these tropes, all of these things that, would be identified as manly or womanly. Men can do things that women do. Women can do things that men do. There's nothing wrong with it. That's what supposedly the message was and is. But in reality, when you go against these gender, the gender norm, and you're a tomboy. Nope, I think you're confused. You're in the wrong body. You're a man now. You're a man. You like man things. You're really a man. And then you're a little boy, and maybe you like wearing pink. Maybe you like some girl stuff. Maybe you want an easy bake oven instead of the newest action figure. And now all of a sudden, nope. We need to get this guy to a doctor and get him puberty blockers ASAP. This 4-year-old knows for a fact in his mind that he's a woman, and we need to change his sex immediately. Ruin his life forever. That's the way these people think. And it's not about getting rid of gender stereotypes, because in reality, they are the ones that are trying to enforce them the most. The most. How can you sit here and be like, we got to get rid of the gender norm and the gender stereotypes, and then when someone does something that's out of the norm for their gender, you try to change them into the other gender? That's taking things way more extreme than anyone ever has. And then they say people are like, no, boys and girls, they all need to have the same toy section in Target, because we need to get rid of all of this notions that boys play with this and girls play with this. We need to get rid of girls and boys sections in the clothing sections at Walmart. We have to do all of this. No, it's totally ass backwards the way a lot of these people think. That's why, the majority of our society will never conform to it. Or at least I'm not conforming to it. Like I said, I have no problem with people and their way of life, but at least makes sense when you try to push this stuff on people. Now, they're basically saying that, like I was saying before I went on that spiel, this girl never identified as this until Ezra Miller basically told her, this is what you are. This is what you're going to be going forward while you're rolling with me. Now, Jumping Eagle says, the father says, or this is the mother, if anybody questions Ezra's actions, Ezra says immediately that they're being racist or transphobic, which is not the case in our case. It's about not hurting people. Don't take advantage of people. The shield, the gender identity shield, the ist, the phobe. Like I said, this is how a lot of these people operate. Not all, but some. Definitely the activist portion who are very loud on social media, you know, the speaking voice for this community, for the most part, they act this way. If you say anything, you question anything, you're automatically a bad person now. And my life experiences with people who I see and talk to on a daily basis, or I run into, or I deal with while I'm at stores, what have you, never have I ever had a bad experience with someone like this. There's trans people everywhere you go. Every time I'm at Starbucks, every single morning, there's trans people there, trans people here. I've never had a bad experience with any of them. Most of them, or if not, basically 100% of everyone that I've come across has treated me kindly. They've been very nice to me, and I've been very nice to them. There's no issue there. And I realize that it's not like the whole community that feels this way and acts this way. It's the vocal minority within this community who amplify their voices the loudest. And maybe, just maybe, some people in this community, they're not guilty of speaking up and calling it out. But on a day-to-day basis, in my average life, I never interact with people who act like this. Yet online, these people act absolutely insane, and they try to silence anyone who questions anything. So it's a weird contrast between the interactions that you get in real life and the interactions that you get on the internet. So I think we all have to be careful about how we judge people or groups of people according to how people act online, because what you see online and how people act in person, it's usually pretty different. It's definitely usually pretty different, but I'm totally concerned about this situation. If you ask me, Ezra Miller, he displays cult-like mentality. Dude has his own like little hand signals and symbols that he does. And if you've watched his interviews, he's very narcissistic. You could tell that he thinks of himself as like a mage or a wizard or like a god. He even calls himself that in certain situations. He's just completely off of his rocker. And it's one thing if Ezra Miller's wandering around the world completely off of his rocker doing God knows what. It's another thing when he has a young girl by his side. And I would assume, and from what I've seen, it's not just one young girl. There's multiple. There's multiple. This is just the family that's speaking out now. Soon enough, maybe another family will speak out if that family cares. Maybe they're getting paid off. Who knows? I don't know exactly what's going on here. I just know it's shady. I know that I am very scared for this girl's well-being. And I know that regardless of what goes on, Ezra Miller must be stopped. But let me know your thoughts about all of this down in the comments below. While you're down there, hit that thumbs up button, hit that subscribe button, ring that notification bell, and I'll talk to you on the next video.